All right, what we got here is a semi-automatic BOV filling machine. It does 1-inch external under the cup crimping and TTV through the valve filling. The capacities are 30 cc's to 300 cc's. So as you can see, the whole machine's made out of stainless steel. It's PLC controlled. Has a funnel system for your product. It's on casters, so it can be moved around real easily. And we'll go into the back of the machine. There's your PLC. All your pneumatics, your pneumatic solenoid valves. And then here is your TTV high pressure fill pump. Again, it's a 30 to 300 cc fill pump. And also is really cool is you can see your main air comes in. It goes through a FRL, a filter regulator lubricator, with a lockout tagout dump valve. So here's your regulator, here's your oiler, and then also we have an air accumulator. So if for any reason you're lacking CFMs in your facility, this air accumulator will compensate for that and store air while the pump is, filling and the crimper is going up and down. So it's really good to have. Also, which is real nice, how easy the adjustment is on these when you go to make adjustments. So you have a dump valve here. You dump the air out. And then here's your adjustment. You could see that the way it was designed, it's on like you could hear it. It's on like a detent. There's a ball in there, and you could count the clicks of how many clicks. You could hear that, right? Real easy to move and to make adjustments on this, where other manufacturers, it's a pain in the butt to make adjustments. This one, real easy. We have your check valves. There's a check valve going in for your product entering, and then there's also a check valve coming out. There is, which is really cool, the way that they convert a pneumatic to a digital signal is through this air pressure switch right here in the end of stroke of the pump. There's no adjustments of the end of stroke on a lot of other manufacturers, which again is a pain in the butt because they do fall out of adjustment as you're running. All right, I'll get over to the front. We have a crimper setup switch. This automatically dumps the air to the air cylinder for the crimper, which you can see here. As you put the can underneath there, hit that switch. It kills all the air going to the air cylinder, so then you could adjust your height. And then when you're done adjusting, you shut that off. Then it has a sleeve valve here for adjusting the can locators. When you put the can underneath, you hit that sleeve valve, and then you can bring the head down and center the can real easy. Where other manufacturers, you have to dump the entire machine. And that's the same with the crimper setup as well. On other manufacturers, you'll have to dump the main air going to the machine to do your crimper setup, where this particular semi-automatic BOV filling machine, we have this switch right here, which just dumps it to the station. As you can see, that goes down. You do your setup and your height setup. The height setup for the crimper, as soon as you make your height setup of the crimper, it's going to automatically do the height setup of the filler as well. So setup is super fast on this, and it's one setup too, where you hit your crimp setup switch with your can underneath there. You do your height adjustment. As you can see with this height gauge right here, that there is a little notch in there, and that notch is going to give you a reference of how much pressure that you're putting on the gasket before you crimp the valve. So real easy. Another thing that's nice about this machine, your crimp depth and diameter is all done on the head. So these top set screws here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 set screws. You loosen that. You move your head up and down. That will be your diameter. And then your depth is the second set. And then that'll move your diameter up and down. And the way that it's designed, you're actually for the diameter, the collets of the head are moving up and down. And then on the depth, it's the head from the collets. It's kind of hard to explain until I rip the head apart and show you guys how it is internally, and then you'll see. The end of strokes, there's no internal end of strokes on this. You have a head down end of stroke here, which is a sensor, and then you have your end of crimp end of stroke here, which is also a sensor. So there's no internal end of stroke inner pilot valves or anything like that. Real simple. All right, we also have on our crimping and on the whole machine itself, we do have pressure testing and then also pressure sensing. So your main pressure, so the pressure that is coming into the machine here, your main pressure, in red it's going to show you what that pressure is. So right now we're sitting at 107, and then our set value is 70. So what that means is if we go below 70, then the machine will not function. It'll let you know that there's not enough air pressure to perform a quality crimp, so the machine will not crimp a can. It'll let you know that. Then we come over to our other pressure testing here. This is for how much pressure we're putting around the valve. So our set pressure right now is 40 psi. We determine how much pressure we're putting in with this pre-charge regulator right here, which is real easy to get to, and it's out of the way, which is nice. So we set our pre-charge, and then we set what our target pressure is. So our target pressure is 40. And then when we go through the crimping process, the crimper will come down. It will do a valve lift. It will then pre-charge pressure around the bag. And then it will also do a check. And if it doesn't reach your 40 psi, then it will not crimp the can. And the crimper will then time out. And then you have to hit reset, and the crimper then will go up. So the crimper will let you know, well, the PLC will let you know that for any reason, if there's a bad can seal or if there's a dent in the can, the machine will never reach your pre-charge set point, which is 40, which then it'll never reach that. So then the PLC will say, okay, we're not there. Don't crimp the can. And then it won't crimp the can. So you could, if you're doing small runs, or if it's in a laboratory setting and you're just doing like little pilot runs and stuff like that, and you're limited on components, it'll save that component for you. So real nice feature. Everything that you see here is like what's included in the equipment. It's, there's no special upgrades you need to pay for or anything like that. It's everything that you need. Real simple to use. All right, we'll go through the PLC. I'll show you some things on the PLC that are really cool. As you can see, when we place a can in front of the crimper, like this, you'll notice, see how it senses the can, which is really cool. And then also in the filler, senses the can, which is really cool. And then when the crimper cycles, it will also, the whole crimper will come down and it'll simulate on the screen for you, which is really cool. So let you know that everything is working. We have a can counter. You press it, it zeroes it out, and then every time the filler cycles, so it's going to count. It's not going to count the crimp cycles. It's going to count the filler cycles, because that's the final step that you need. You crimp the can. You pre-charge and then crimp the can to trap that air around the bag, and then you come over to your filler, and then that will count how many final cans that you have. And then you have a manual button, and then when you go to auto, as soon as the can sensor, this can sensor right here, and right here, as soon as that senses a can, it will then cycle the station. All right, so that's our automatic interface. Then we go to our manual interface, and then we can manually go through all the steps of the crimper. I'll switch it over like this so you guys can see. As you can see, when we get to, let's see, we'll raise and drop. We'll manually do it. Crimper comes down. We'll go back over to your automatic interface, and you can see that it simulated the crimper coming down on the PLC, which is kind of cool. And then we can go through all our steps. And then our crimping. So we can manually cycle and go through all the stages of the crimper, which is good for diagnostic purposes. So if there's any issues, you could just come over here. You could go through your steps, find out what's going on and why the crimper's not finishing or something like that. And then also the same thing with your TTV. So you have all your manual settings where you can manually cycle, which is really cool. Which is again the benefits of having a PLC, which is standard on this piece of equipment. Again, everything you see is standard. Then we have our parameters, which right now there's not that many parameters. We have a bottle inspection time. So for right now it's set for a half a second. So as soon as the can sensor senses the can there, it'll wait a half a second before it cycles, just to confirm that the can is centered properly. And then we have a gas filling detection time, which is right now it's set for 3 seconds. And then we have a liquid filling detection time. So the liquid filling detection time, when you place the can underneath the station and it cycles and it starts filling, if that filler never sees end of stroke, or I should say, if the PLC never sees end of stroke of the filler, it'll time out, and after 5 seconds, it will then stop. Stop and say, okay, there's an issue, and it'll throw an alarm on the alarm will come up on this top section, which you can see when I push the reset button, or not the reset, sorry, the e-stop button. The alarm goes on the top, so it'll throw an alarm, let you know that the fill pump never reached end of stroke, that there's something wrong. All right, then we have our monitoring interface. Now, the monitoring interface is pretty much everything that's being controlled and being sensed, all your input outputs of the machine. So it'll let you know the compressed air supply is good. That's because it's reading here good. When the crimping bottle is in, you can see that. Let me zoom in. So it's letting you know that it's seeing it. So if for some reason, if you place the can in front and the crimper doesn't cycle, you could come over to your monitoring interface page and you could see if that's lit up. If it's not saying on, then the sensor's not reading the can, or the sensor's bad, or there's a bad connection. Then you have your crimping signal, gas filling signal, rise and drop signal, your emergency switch, which is this guy here. Right now, the emergency switch is green, meaning it's good. It's good to go. When it's pressed in, it shows that it's off. You have your liquid filling bottle in, liquid filling signal, blowing bottle valve, liquid filling valve, limit valve, rise and drop valve. These are all solenoid valves, which are back here, which are controlling each stage of the crimper, turning the vacuum generator on and off, controlling your fill pump. These are all solenoid valves. And when these valves are being told to activate by the PLC, it will then let you know that it's working correctly when they go green during the cycle. So it's about all the buttons on here. You do have a boot interface button here. This is when you want to load programs, and then the initial startup of the machine, and you just you hit the screen itself, and it'll bring you to your automatic interface, and then you could do your setup, and you could get ready to go to fill some bottles. All right. If there's any questions or anything like that, comment, and I'd be happy to answer. Again, everything that you see in the machine, on the machine, it's part of the package. It's kind of like your base model. This is everything that you get. Again, we'll walk around. I do have all the panels off, but there's, as you can see right here, these are all the side panels. So everything will be covered up, but I took them off so you could see the pumps. Oh, and another thing real quick on the TTV, which I forgot, it does have has a three-way valve right here, which is a purge valve. So if you're going through like different types of products and you need to flush out the system, instead of taking stuff apart and cleaning, which you should do at the end of every run at the end of the day. But if you're going through different product changes and you want to flush the system real quick, you could, and without needing to use a can, you could use this purge valve, three-way purge valve, and there's a purge hose that comes, and you could put this in a bucket right here. You could put it in a bucket and then run your wash-up solution through the system, and it'll exit into the waste bucket, and then you can then purge your new product through there, and you can purge it all the way up to the head right here. So once you're ready to go, you put it on fill, and then you put a can underneath there, and then you're only going to use one can per wash up. So one can per setup, and then 1 can when you do product changes, because it's where this valve is located. It's right by the head, so the only other product contact that's, say, not flushed out or purged out is right here in the head, and that's it. And you'll see in the other video when I take the head apart of there's not that much of an orifice right here, so it's a direct shot. So in other videos that are going to be coming up, it's going to be complete teardown of the UTC crimper and crimp head. Then it's going to be complete teardown of the TTV fill head, and then a complete teardown of the TTV high pressure fill pump, which will do the air side and then the liquid side. All right.